to Wolf Farms. I'm Dawn, also known as Emmy Lou and Nim Wolf.
You have to get into that one a little later. My name's James, also known as Wolf Photo. This podcast is brought to you by Wolf Farms. You can find us on the internet at wolffarms.net. We have a scent of the month every month, and for the month of June, it is torrential rain. You get 25% off anything in our shop scented in that fragrance, and that's soaps, lotions, bath salts. And we're also running a special this month, the travelable candles in all of the scents, not just torrential rain, but pomegranate and we probably got about 20 some odd different scents, I think, in the travelables that you can use. Those are all on sale as well this month. So swing on by and check that out. Stock up while you can, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So we want to welcome new and returning viewers. Thanks for joining us today. Got a couple things on the podcast, so why don't you go into our segments? That's what it's called. It's called a segment.
This week's segments include farm happenings, in the coop, squeal like a pig, picking on the farm, and in the arena.
And roundup.
Round it up.
Yeah, it's like our list looks really small, but this picking on the farm, I tend to talk a lot.
Well, I meant to switch that around too, and it kind of startled me where it was. The whole Emmy Lou thing was a Facebook thing. They have all these quizzes all the time on it. What should your name really be? And so, yeah, my name should really be Emmy Lou.
Emmy Lou.
Emmy Lou.
And you thought, that sounds odd. I'm like, okay, you got a rocking chair, you out there knitting on your farm. So, yeah, that sounds like Emmy Lou already. So, let's get things underway. Farm happenings. I guess.
First, I want to thank everybody for commenting on last week's, thread about, what you want to hear more of, and see Troubles saying thank you.
Yeah, he wants to be on the podcast more too, and he's an animal.
I know, you're going to jump on me.
Come here, Chubby.
So, we just I thought for sure you guys would say, cut down them farm happenings, because we tend to ramble on that, and,
Us ramble? Never.
So I was kind of shocked to know that, that was something you guys look forward to, and so
we'll keep it going.
Yeah.
Keep with the farm happenings, because that's kind of what's going on in our lives. So
yeah, reality TV.
So yeah, we do appreciate the feedback that came across, and I think I said there was a brief mention of going every other week. I don't think we'll be doing that. I think everybody needs their wolf farm fix.
Yeah, I think we do too.
Yeah, I know, we have fun doing it. So let's start with the farm happenings.
Well, the farm happenings, most of this week has been about Miss Fuji here.
Yeah.
And she wanted to show Mia, her friend in Vermont, that she's okay. And if you're new to the podcast, she was diagnosed last August with lymphoma, and we went through 7 months of chemo. Her last one was on March 31st. And so it's been 2 months, and I check her daily, her lymph node area, and among other things, but I felt just one pea size lump. And so I thought, and of course this is at night, 10 o'clock at night, and, it's not an emergency, so I'm checking her all night long.
And the gears are turning.
I'm not sleeping, worrying, if she's out of remission. So next morning, I called the vet and find out that he's on vacation, but he has a fill-in doctor, and I didn't want to wait a week. Yes, fill-in doctor. That's very loosely said. And so I go, yeah, go ahead. We'll bring her. I'll have her check it over. How difficult is it to check the lymph nodes?
Well, you also brought her in to have the blood work done. That was like one.
Well, I wasn't until I knew about what her opinion was about the lymph nodes. If I was just being panicky, overreactive, or so I took her in, and the doctor's sitting there filling it, and she goes, well, is this the saliva gland or is it the lymph node? And I'm like, I'm not the vet. I have a psychology degree. I don't have my vet degree, And I go, and she goes, well, I think I'm sitting here separating them. And I'm like, you think? And I'm like, okay. She goes, but let me see her teeth. And I'm like, I'm not here for her teeth. Just check her lymph nodes. That's all I want done, And she, so needless to say, I go, and she goes, well, I think maybe, you might want to see the oncologist because I don't know if that's what I'm feeling. And, so I'm like, okay, just go do a CBC on her, blood panel, and then that was a whole discussion. This is something we have done every 2 weeks. It's like, just do it. I don't need the whole lecture and blah, blah, blah.
You're supposed to go in and get reassured that everything's good. And
so I'm still in full panic, because I'm thinking this is a professional and she doesn't know. She's asking me. So I had the CBC done. I go, I need this tomorrow so we can get her down to her oncologist. That's a couple hours away, So then it was calling the hospital down there. Of course, that day there was no oncology department, no one in it. So they're having a head medical doctor call me back. And, so, it was like phone call. And this is Jimmy's birthday. This is all happening, It's like, so I'm getting phone calls from them. I'm getting phone calls from the nurse. And so it was worry. And then
Tansy, which is a vet,
her oncologist that she's been seeing for the past 7 months said, don't worry about it. It's just one. That 2+ is coming out of remission. 2+ lymph nodes. I'm like, should have just emailed her to begin with, but live and learn. So then, I thought I was pretty relaxed. We get on with Jimmy's birthday, although his PS4 had quit. We got him a game. It was like, let's just start over. But continued his birthday. By the evening, it got better. We had a big, huge pizza dinner. And so, it ended up good. We're going to do other things in a few weeks once school is done. And so then...
And we were sitting out on the back porch, and
No. Then it's the next day. The oncologist calls the stand-in psychologist because our main oncologist is gone. Right. So he calls and was going over her blood work, and everything's fine. She's doing good. Since it's gone, it disappeared. The one swollen lymph node. So he goes, oh, don't worry about it because I'm going to try to work you in on Saturday, but now we won't have to because, she's doing good. And, he said that this local vet should have been able to tell me 2+ lymph nodes, that this is something she should have been able to tell me. But now I know, so...
She didn't even know if she was playing with feeling the lymph nodes or not. That's the scary part.
Yeah, so. It's like, seriously? Yeah. I can understand the back legs and under the front underarms. It's very hard for any vet to feel.
Unless they're swollen.
Yes. So, we're thinking, okay, good. Calm down. Friday night we're outside playing with the dogs and letting them play, and James finds 2 swollen lymph nodes. He goes,
I found 2 lymph nodes. I don't know, because I don't normally check her, so I'm not sure where, what they're considered swollen or not. But I did find 2 as I was, she was sitting on my lap and I'm feeling her neck, seeing if I could, and I'm like, I think I'm feeling 2. Dawn's normally the one that's checking her. I thought, well, better have her look as well, and so...
And I think he would have rather just snuck her down there, have her checked because I lost it. After being worried, with no sleep, having a migraine, it's like.
And it was end of the day,
of course,
Friday,
after 6 o'clock, it's like I hurried and called because it is a 24/7 hospital down there. Of course, all the oncology staff already gone, and I'm like, okay, the nurse that deals with Fuji, who Fuji just loves to death, her and I are Facebook friends. So she goes, if you ever need anything, just Facebook me. And I'm like, okay. Because I was freaking out. And so I Facebooked her, and she goes, come down. Because first I called the hospital, and they said, we can't even get you in.
Yeah, he's
double booked, can't get you in. And I'm like, oh, crap. So, I'm thinking he's going to have to take off next week a day for us to head down there. And boy, I'm really rambly. I can just, it's like Dawn's vomit. Here we go. So, I got hold of her through Facebook, and she said, just come down.
Just come down, she'll fit us in.
Yep, so they got us in yesterday, and the oncologist that we saw yesterday was actually the very first oncologist. Did I say psychologist?
No, you said oncologist.
Okay.
Yeah, he was...
The very first one that saw Fuji and set up treatment.
Yeah, when she was first diagnosed, this is the doctor, the oncologist that was down there that we got started with. And he's actually friends with our local vet.
Yeah.
So we kind of got started with him, but he actually went up to San Jose to start a oncology practice up there. And so we were going on with the other oncologist throughout Fuji's treatment, and she's really good as well. So he's actually covering for her because she's doing state stuff. So she's out of the office. Our normal, we've been doing. It's one of those weeks that nothing's like falling into place. So, but he's good. And like I said, he knew Fuji because we had started with her, and so we went ahead and took her down Saturday morning, and they were able to fit us into the schedule because he was booked because they don't normally have oncology appointments on Saturdays. Yeah. So it seemed like everybody's taking advantage of that. So
plus he's only there the 2 days coming from San Jose, which is what, 8 hours or?
It's a drive. Yeah. So he was covering, but we were able to get in there and have Fuji checked out. So I'll let you take over. And
so we told him the whole story. Of course, he reiterated, 2+, and I'm like, I felt 2+, but he said it was clinically insignificant.
Yeah. So he's like, no, those, they're a little enlarged, but that's not something that he would consider coming out of remission. Just to monitor it, it's insignificant. He doesn't think it's coming back. He said normally, he actually gave us better numbers than our other vet. He said, normally it's 9 to 13 months. It stays in remission before, on average, before they see anything. And it can go longer or shorter, but generally it's 9 to 13 months. And Fuji's only been out 2. And so he's like, no, he doesn't think it's anything. Because the lymph nodes are also, beyond the lymphoma part. Yeah. It's that they're used to, she could have allergies because we're outside with her a lot. So I don't know if that she could be reacting to something like that. So he said the size is really not anything to be worried
He said
about.
It would be like what we found when we first had her diagnosed. It would be the marble. And you could visually see them, not even feel on. And so, but it was it was like, it poked me with a bubble. I just that was it. I came home and I passed out.
She crashed.
Yeah. If it wasn't for Sadie jumping on my head, I wouldn't be awake.
Yeah. A lot of stress, and then just...
Yeah, because you just get... It's like, okay, are we going to have... are we facing this again? And that's fear, and it's...
Yep. So, the upside is Fuji's fine.
Yep.
And... we know not to go to the temporary vet locally here. We'll wait for the regular one to show up. And like I said, it was worth going down and spending the couple hours of drive time to go down to actually see someone who's...
The reassurance.
Well, yeah, and they deal with this on a regular basis.
Or even if she needed something,
Yeah, they could have... If
there was an emergency protocol that they were going to do.
Yeah, they can... And he's like, I don't think she needs it. I think, it's insignificant. There's nothing here that has him concerned, which is good. He said, just monitor it like you're doing and, keep an eye on it. But he didn't think it was anything. So I was like, but like I said, that's the kind of, like I said, it's worth the drive down there because it's a couple hours away, and it it's definitely worth going
trip,
down
yeah.
and seeing them to kind of have them do the once over. And I even told Dawn that when we finish up, if she wants, because we're supposed to have a 4-month visit. When the 4-month visit, our oncologist, our normal one that's been there, Dr. Tansey, she said, you can just have your local vet do it and then let me know what he says. I'm like, I know it'll make us feel better just to go down and have her check Fuji out. And like I said, it's worth the drive just to make Dawn relax, because like I said, it's kind of stressful when you go and you want some reassurance from your local vet, and you come away kind of, I guess, a little more, no more reassured about one way or the other what's going on, and more kind of frustrated that they were asking you what. It's like, come on. So,
if you're going to be a professional, have some confidence in yourself. If she would have just said, I feel it a little swollen, go to your oncologist, I would have been fine. Not ask me, well, is this what you're feeling? Is this the saliva gland? I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah,
Thank God I don't say what I'm really thinking.
I get vented too, so. But anyway, so that was the long week of just Dawn not sleeping, stressing out over whether Fuji's coming out. But the end result is Fuji's fine, which is really where we want to be.
And it's been so cool because I've been letting her have a little bit more freedom. She's not normally allowed outside because we have hawks and stuff that have swooped at her. But since the puppy, he's an outside boy. He wants outside. Go play in the mud, in the water. Mud and water, so then he comes back a brown dog. So he has toys out there. She has never touched these toys. I mean, they're brand new toys that she has never touched. Now she's grabbing it. She's gotten puppyfied, and it's like, so awesome to see that. And
she's reverting back to her puppy stage because she's playing like a puppy, and I mean, just it's funny because it's now the competition for the toy. There's chew toys and stuff, and she'll go over and steal them from Dundee, and and she'll be playing with toys that he's playing with, and it's kind of funny.
They tried to have a competition for mommy last night.
Oh yeah,
it's Dundee. He came and he's very shoulder. I mean, he's like
he's
this.
Gonna move you with his
he's
body.
Like, and he goes, that's my mommy, and she's like, oh no, boy, and she's like, and he moves for her, because she is like queen. It's like, oh no,
she's still the dominant dog in this
funny,
house.
Though.
Of course, he's bigger than her. It's funny because when we got him, he was smaller than her.
Yeah.
Now he's actually, he's growing fast. He's 11 pounds right now, and growing, just stretching out, getting bigger, and
he gains anywhere between 2 to 4 ounces a day.
Yeah,
so.
But he's getting big. He's sleeping under my chair. I don't want to wake him up because then we can't turn him off.
Yeah.
So but he's growing. We'll show an update. I guess next week we'll have him on. We're gonna focus on Fuji today.
Yeah.
Don't want to make her feel left out. So.
Well, she's been poked and prodded past couple of days, especially with me. It's
Yeah.
like, So I mentioned also we had Jimmy's birthday this week, and
Yeah, he's
17.
growing.
Jeez, what did I have him at? 5?
Yeah, that's it. Don't want to say our age here, huh? We're young at heart. We had this discussion on the drive down with Fuji. We're young at heart.
Yeah.
So, and
Like to play.
and I guess other farm happening stuff. You were working on painting this
I
weekend?
started real paint.
Yeah, we've got the primer. We got the primer up, and so now the paint gets to go on the front. We still got to work on the back area when we get done, but that's
a long way down the road.
Yeah, so Don worked on the painting. I did some weeding and stuff out in the front. So making it look nice. So
I'm getting there.
Getting there.
No rush.
That's it. So in the coop, are we going in the coop?
I guess so. I was looking at the farm happenings, making sure I got everything.
I think you did.
You're just moving us on along. Moving on.
Cracking the whip.
So in the coop, it hasn't been much in the coop this week. I did a little bit on my calligraphy cardigan. I picked up one side, because I think I mentioned last week that I'd picked it up 3 times, so this is backwards.
Practice makes perfect.
Yeah, this is one of the sides picked up all the way down the body and up the neck. There's up the neck. So there's like 200 and some odd stitches, and then you do the ribbing for 3 inches. So that's what I got done on this week. It's not much knitting.
The other side's
I
the
got
button
the
side,
other
right?
side picked up because I wanted both sides to have the exact number. So that's why it was also 3. This isn't done in beaver slide dry goods. It's a Hannah Fedig pattern. But yeah, I haven't, also what, it really has bothered my allergies again this week.
Yeah, I
So
noticed
it's just like draining, so it's going to be...
Put on some goggles.
Yeah.
Knitting with goggles, that's what you need is whenever you're using animal fiber type.
Yeah.
I don't know, some of it doesn't bug you, but it's kind of strange how that one is.
I don't know if it's so raw.
Could be the weeds that are from the animal that,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So then I worked on my elf sock. This is Spinning Fates Buddy the Elf in her Tula sock base. And this is the second sock, and there's my Dicky Doo way down here because I only had the toe done last week. So I did all of that. I have the Fish Lips Kiss heel, which is so much fun. I just love that heel. And then I'm starting the leg, which will be a short leg because I'm trying to... I already used this yarn for Kimberly Gintar elf, so I'm weighing it.
You knit so much faster than me.
Well, this is all I've done this week besides that.
Well, I'll show you all I've done this week too, and you knit so much faster than me.
So size 1, 64 stitches, and yeah. I was hoping to have it done, but there's been quite a few days there's really no knitting. Maybe 1 row, if that. But yeah, I've been having to really use my medical tape. I got medical tape all over on my bags where it gets stuck because
once you poke through,
you poke through your finger, it's like
you keep going back to that.
So yes, the medical tape doesn't have latex or stuff, so I can stick that on there and keep knitting. And although sometimes you got to double tape, because it'll go through the tape sometimes.
It gets sore. I know in mine because I don't have the calluses where the needle always hits just yet. But I mean, there's times when it just gets sore because I push too, when I'm knitting.
Well, I'm actually throwing on my socks, but my sweater and other things I continental, so I have 2 different things going. So when one hand gets tired, I go to the other. So. What's in your coop?
My coop still kicking.
Oh my gosh! Talking about in the coop. We ate it, but this week in our real chicken coop, I got an egg this size. I mean, it was a good 3 inches.
It was
a humongous
hugest egg. It looked like a goose egg.
Yeah.
But it came from one of our
Americanas because it was one of the green ones, and they're normally egg size. I mean, I couldn't even close our... It was huge. It was a double yolker, too. Yeah. See, we had to crack it open.
Yeah, we're curious. What's in there?
Yeah, we've had that one happen, too. That was quite disgusting.
That wasn't one of our eggs, though.
No.
It was someone else's egg.
Yeah, they'd given us some old eggs.
That's not...
They recorded me cracking that one open. Quite entertaining. Lots of sound effects.
Back on the track.
I know, sorry. But it was in the coop.
Yes, it was. Alrighty, let's see. I am working on my sock still, the S'mores colorway by Desert Vista Dye Works. And like I said, I didn't get a whole lot done. But I got to show it because I was trying to put in some time on it. I got, what was that, 2.5
Well, you were late a couple times this week from work, from traffic accidents and stuff. So.
Work and orders, and it just seemed like nothing came together for me to sit down and do some knitting. So I only got a couple stripes on. I don't want to bore you guys with it, but yeah, I mean, I'll look at Dawn gets half a sock done in a week, and I barely get 3 lines. It's like, okay, well, I'm still working on it. A little bit at a time. I just don't want you guys getting bored with seeing my slow progress. Like all of my projects seem to be that way, but
you don't take a lot of time either.
Yeah, I don't. I got
There's
a
so much
dozen other
around
things
here that we do that.
Yeah, so it's coming along.
Because he has other in the coop.
Yeah, I got some
Which
stuff.
we will just transition right into that on Pic'n on the farm.
Now, are we switching things around here?
I had told you,
Okay.
but I didn't do it on the notes.
Yeah, okay. So, anyways, but got a couple Pic'n on the farm things kind of in the works. Got the gears turning towards that. One of the things that kind of inspired me to go and talk about what I'm going to talk about is actually an Instagram picture that Dawn took. And actually, we were out, like Dawn mentioned earlier, we have Fuji and Dundee out there playing on the back patio and stuff, and they're playing with their toys and stuff. Well, I break out the camera and get some pictures, and Dawn took a picture of me all sprawled out on the ground getting pictures, and it kind of...
it's not... You don't normally see people getting down.
Well, that's kind of my point.
Down on the farm.
One of the things I want to talk about was getting on the same level as your subject. And these dogs are little. I'm on the ground with them because, it's one thing to take them, while you're standing there, but you get much more better perspective. It comes into with photography, getting the photos that stand out are the perspective that you don't normally see. And so for you to get down on the ground eye to eye with a little puppy and take pictures from there, definitely the world looks different down there. So you get a picture that captures that. It really adds.
Cleaning your lenses.
Oh yeah, I don't know how many nose prints I ended up on my camera lens. It was one of those challenging things because the puppy's just like, ooh, see Fuji, she's trained, she poses. She gets up there, your camera breaks out, and she's like,
yeah, she does the Zoolander.
she's got the same pose that she gets, and it's kind of funny that's the case. But she knows, oh, camera's out, so she starts to do her, her posing, her model-esque, walking and stuff like that. But puppy hasn't learned that yet. So I have nose print on the lens, clean it off. Another nose is like, Johnny, come on.
The big tongue lick.
It's like this. Stay away from the camera equipment. Sit and pose for me. So anyways, I wanted to kind of point out the fact that, if you get down on the same level as your subject, you get that perspective that comes from them, something that you don't normally see, and that's what kind of stands out in photographs is the interest. It's interesting when you see the world in a way that you don't normally see it. So being on the ground, taking pictures, kind of giving you that world through the eyes of a puppy kind of look, and that's kind of why I get down and try and find that angle that gives the viewer of the picture something of interest. Is like, whoa, wow, that's not how I see the world. So I'd gone through, I was taking a bunch of pictures of the dogs playing and whatnot, and it's not just the dogs, getting down. It's also people, when you're taking pictures of kids, to get down on your knees, and you're at the same level as the kid, instead of taking a picture of everybody at the top of everybody's head, if you're bigger than them, or the puppies, that's, I find it more interesting to be at the same level. But also, like in the flowers, I go out and take pictures from flowers. Flowers are really, on the ground. You get down there and get pictures from that perspective. It makes it really interesting.
Or
as
even
well.
Up under,
Yeah, it's just like you just kind of think of different ways of seeing the world that you don't normally do it. And then when you capture that in a picture, that's where the interest comes from. So, not everybody has to get down the ground. You do it for them. So I thought, okay, I'll point that out because I thought it was kind of funny. It's like natural for me. I just do it. And then the fact that Don got a picture of it, and I think a couple people commented, they said, oh, I got to see the picture. So okay, well, I'll talk about that, about perspective and subject, getting on the same level as your subject, and kind of tie that together to give you guys something to think about when you're out there taking pictures. So I wanted to kind of talk about that as a kind of a learning point. And then on the Pic'n on the farm, we had mentioned last week that I wanted to work on a photo shoot with Dundee. So I've been working, actually, I've been working on changing out my lighting. I actually have a new strobes, studio strobes I'm replacing my old ones with. And so I've been getting those set up. And I'm trying to get it dialed in lighting-wise, because these are much more powerful setup, so I have to think about it a little differently. So the amount of power and lighting that I have on the new equipment that I have is probably about 6 times as much lighting power, which it takes a little bit more of an adjustment. It's got a lot of knobs and adjustments, and I'm still getting it dialed in. So it actually, I'm enjoying it, but I'm trying to get that dialed in. So we did kind of like a test photo shoot to kind of work with the lighting. Nothing great yet, because Dundee's still learning. That's the fun part. And I wanted to kind of video us trying to get pictures of him. So maybe we'll work towards that in an upcoming episode. But I wanted to, I'm trying to get it all dialed in so we can actually do that. Because it's kind of funny. I did get a couple pictures of him and Fuji waving, and but like I said, I'm still working on dialing in that the lighting and stuff so that it's spot on.
Well, another thing back to your getting down low is also, I know on a previous podcast when you were going through the beginner stuff, is the stabilization when you're down there too. So your arms are stable, so the picture isn't.
Yeah, if you're not using a tripod, ways to stabilize yourself. Of course, I look like a sniper. I got sprawl out, to get a stable, and I have to be mobile. I have to be mobile because the dogs they don't pose, especially when they're playing. So that was kind of fun, but. So yeah, I just figured I'd bring out those. I've got a couple other things that I'm working on, Pic'n on the farm wise, that are kind of in the queue, but still getting that dialed in. So I guess we'll.
But yeah, no, you're not done yet.
I'm not done yet.
But yeah, in the pictures that he shows, you'll notice that the subject, either Fuji or Dundee, is so focused and clear, and I'm like, I can't do that on the pictures.
The depth of
and
field.
The background is blur. You can see it, but it blurs out, and the main subject is such a focus. And
that's this
camera.
Well, no, it's actually the lens. This kind of goes back to depth of field. We're kind of going a completely other area.
But it just
with the iPhone and stuff like that, you don't have control over the depth of field, and that's basically in the lens. There's a thing called an aperture that allows less or more light. It controls the light, how much comes through the lens, and the brighter things are, it has to close down that opening so that the exposure is correct for the amount of light. So the less light, the bigger the opening, so it lets more light in. The brighter, it closes it down. And that actually affects what you see in the end result. So the more narrow the opening, the more stuff is in focus. And so your eye works this way, the lenses work that way, because the beams of light that go through a small hole are more specific than a wide opening. It actually kind of blurs everything that's not on the focus plane. Not to get too technical, but there's the lenses that open up really wide give you very shallow depth of field. So I have a picture that it's just like you only see the face. Everything else is blur. And I like that look, especially when you're doing portraits, because it keeps the interest where that subject is. So it's called depth of field. I did a whole section on that in a prior podcast, and maybe I'll start talking about some of the basic stuff going forward.
But there's still no way to do that with a.
You can do it digitally. You can actually blur things out digitally, but this is actually the blur happens because of the lens that I'm using. It actually is it's very wide open, but the more wider you get, the bigger the lens gets, and there's it's one of those things that is not a.
Well,
It's not
that
a.
would
It's,
even be neat in product. Yeah, product. Is that product photography?
Mm-hmm.
Just sounded funny when I said it like that. Like if you're doing your bag to have, the rest blurred, but this such a boom focus. That's why I was.
You can do it digitally. The lenses generally that are wide open. You have your consumer lenses. We'll kind of get into some basic stuff. You have your consumer lenses that generally at about a 50 millimeter range will be in the 4.5 or 3.8 f-stop. The f-stop is the aperture number, so to speak. So the f-stop is what relays how wide open or how closed down your lens is. So those people that have digital SLRs or film SLRs even that can control that's the f-stop. So generally the consumer lenses don't open up as wide as more of the professional ones. But your average, you go down and you buy a camera at Best Buy or whatever, and you get a digital SLR, it's probably like a 3.5 type lens. The better, more professional lenses that are zoom will go to about 2.8. So they open up more to get more shallow depth of field if you open it up, but the cost goes up. The lens that I'm actually using on the pictures here is actually a 1.4. It's like,
wow.
Yeah, and so, but like I said, for the bigger, the wider f-stops, the cost kind of goes up. So most consumers just kind of stick with that. You could do it digitally if you wanted to blur. I think it's Gaussian blur is a filter that you use in Photoshop that could, you select it and it'll blur that out, and you can do it digitally. But this is actually optically through the lens where it blurs things out. So
just something I learned last night.
yeah, see. So a little more photo stuff for you to think about, but that's kind of, there's a couple techniques that you can do to actually get the blur piece in there, but
the whole depth of field thing,
mm-hmm.
I've heard it. We've been together 26 years. I've heard you try to tell me this many times, and it doesn't sink in. So,
yeah. And
so even if you've mentioned it more than once on here, it's.
I gotta just pound it in. You listen, depth of field. See, I'm getting in focus, and it fades here.
That. Sorry, I got just swirled. Well, there's someone right at our gate, so it was. It's hard to remember. Okay, the smaller opening and all that.
Yeah,
it's because it's opposite.
For those people that don't think about it much, it probably isn't that important. But the end result, when you look at a picture,
yeah, but some people have the fancy schmancy camera
and
don't know how to use it. They just put it on like the dummy mode.
Auto.
Yeah, and it. Okay.
Yeah,
I put his camera on the dummy mode, and
most cameras nowadays, well, of course they come with electronic PDF. You don't get the book anymore, but the books are usually about 400 pages, 300 pages for the cameras to go through all the features and bells and whistles, and nobody reads it. But those actually explain some of the stuff that I mentioned, and they also tell you how to control it. Some cameras are as simple as your iPhone. You click a button, and then you buy an app that gives you all these filters that tell you that that give you some control over your picture.
I never use them.
I know. Or you get the point and shoots. Actually, I'm gonna kind of go off track again. Point and shoots. You'll probably never see, or the market for point and shoot cameras, the just consumer things, pretty much gone now because cameras on the phones have taken over. So now you're going to have only phones and professional digital SLRs. You probably won't see a whole lot of that whole market's going to go away just because the cameras and the phones have kind of taken over what used to be the consumer digital camera. Little FYI. I'm full of trivia. See, he just shut me up. I thought this was going to be a podcast, but I knew if I'm going to start talking, I'm normally a quiet person.
See, y'all told us it isn't about the knitting, so.
I'm normally a quiet person, so I mean, this is unusual for me to talk so much.
That's like
149 episodes in. I don't talk much.
That's what I've heard a lot of podcasters say that are introverts.
What? It's easier to talk to a camera that's pointing back at me? No, I know. I know there's other people. Hi, how you doing?
I'm not an introvert.
No, you're not.
I make friends everywhere. That was just reminds me.
I know. Our Russian friend at the vet,
yes.
I have no idea who she is, but she started telling Dawn her life story. I mean, almost before she sat down.
Yeah, she's walking
she
in the
hates
door.
Kids.
She goes, I just hate kids.
There was not a kid in the room. It was us and her cat and Fuji. She sat down and started it. It was quite humorous. I'm like, what'd you do to her? Sat down. I hate kids. Like, we looking around like, what are you talking about? There's no kids here.
Leave it to me. If you want entertainment, just come somewhere with me. Jimmy always laughs because I find new friends.
Yeah, that's it. You have that knack.
Well, because then she started talking to me about her
Cat.
divorce and how she went through a trial to get custody.
You know what's funny is that
I didn't say a word.
She was probably Russian or Middle Eastern, not Middle Eastern, but European, Eastern European.
Oh, no, I couldn't
Eastern
understand
European. Don can't understand her, so she's just yakking and yakking and yakking. I know Don's picking up every now and again, and I'm more used to hearing people with different accents talk because I work with a variety of people, and it's kind of funny because I know Dawn, if it's different than her slang, she can't understand English.
Yeah, real English.
Yeah, people from England, she has a hard time understanding them speaking. I'm like, it's English.
It's not.
It's entertaining because I knew what was going through her head. Like, what is she saying? I'm like,
well, because I looked at him a couple times, like I have no idea. I
yeah.
understood her cat had herpes.
At least that's how it sounded.
Yeah.
So
that was a big. So squeal like pig. I got a package which totally made me smile this week, and it's from Sarah, which is Sarah Hepworth, and well, see, she's S.E. Hepworth on. I always say Sarah because she is Sarah. So I got an awesome card, and I had no idea this was coming. And it just out of the blue too. And when you're having crappy days, it's like, I've just sat and I've stared at it because it's just so beautiful. And it's from Rosie's Moments. It's hand-painted mini skeins. Superwash wool. It's a UK shop, Rosie's Moments. Look how pretty this is packaged. Let's get the card. Yeah, look at these mini skeins. And it's perfect because I haven't been able to work on my blanket this week because I'm all out of mini skeins. So it's like, this next week that'll be perfect. Sarah will be in my blanket.
Yeah, you got 6 of them there, so that'll cover you for a week. Yep. Almost.
Yeah. So, and if I finish my sock, I can throw that in, so it'll ding, ding, ding.
If I can finish my sock and the other one, you can use mine too.
Yeah. So that was just so sweet, and just, how happy is that, to pull that out and have that smile. So that was so sweet of Sarah, and
pretty awesome.
Just love it. Yep. I think there's 7.
Is there 7?
Because, 1, 2, because see that one, I don't know or is that attached? No, that's a different one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I can't count. See, I can't speak English and I can't count. I speak Dawnese.
We're challenged at times.
See, he speaks read my mind.
That's what she keeps thinking, that I read her mind, but it's not always the case.
Pretty darn good, though, a lot of times.
See, you watched How I Met Your Mother, where they have the whole conversation without words.
That's so cool. Well, you know what I'm thinking at certain things.
Yeah, I know. I can.
When I'm like, I have no idea what this lady is saying to me. Do you? See, I didn't have to say words.
We're in sync most of the time, so.
Then I get really aggravated when you don't.
That's true. When that connection's not there,
it's like, come on, focus, boy.
Focus.
Everyone
Hey, back into
ears.
Pic'n and the farm. Focus. So, in the arena.
We have our designer along with Susan Claudino, and hey, we might have Farmer Jim wanting to make an appearance. That was a quick way to get him going. And for June and July, Susan Claudino patterns, and I had meant to start one this week. I have the yarn out. It didn't happen, but because I want to do the turtle, but maybe this week I'll get it going. And been seeing some really cool slow-mos on Instagram getting done, and
cool.
So yeah, so enter those. It'll be lots of fun. And then Roundup.
Roundup. All right. Well,
Roundup.
Don't forget, you can get a free Wolf Farm video podcast button with any paid order at Wolf Farms. Just swing on by, order up some of our good stuff, and then when you're checking out and knocking stuff on the table, when you're checking out, just put in the comment section, just say, hey, I'd like to have one of your video podcast buttons, and we'll be happy to stick that in with your order when we ship that off to you. I think that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So don't forget, get your free button at Wolf Farms.
You load?
No.
Oh, yeah, I'm kind of goofy all of a sudden.
Because Jimmy was distracting me. So Farmer Jim.
Blame it on the kid.
See, that's what kids are for. You to blame them.
So until next time,
let's get cracking and
passionate.
Bye, y'all.